All right, everybody, welcome back to another Snapper Chat podcast. Today we've got another special guest, guys, another Golden Door Award winner in the door-to-door industry. Today we've got Mr. Taylor Buffum. How you doing today, Taylor?
Doing well, brother. How are you?
Doing well. And you're out there in Arizona right now.
Yep.
We got to talk a little bit before this podcast, but guys, for everybody tuning in right now, we've been doing these podcasts with Snapper Academy. And our goal is really just to help level up the industry, put people on game, teach people how to go out there and really just go from being like an average rep to being a great rep, right? And there's a lot of things that we're going to talk about today that hopefully you guys can take away from it to be able to go out there next year and to hit all of your goals. Because I know as we're wrapping up 2024, a lot of you right now are probably looking at it saying, I didn't hit all my goals, and you're game planning for 2025, right? So I'm excited to get into it, Taylor. Just to kind of start off, how did you get into the door-to-door industry? How old were you when you got in, and how long have you been in the industry so far?
Yeah, so I actually don't come from the land of Mormons. You know, there's not a lot of us, but I was raised in Tucson, Arizona, which is mostly Hispanic and not very Mormon, so a little bit different, but got recruited through a friend of a friend, you know, basically to come sell alarms, and it was like, hey, instead of just twiddling our thumbs on junior year break, like, let's go try to make $8,000 or whatever we thought we were going to make in the summer. So packed up, dude, went out there. I had no idea what I was doing. You know, I'd say half my deals were sympathy buys, just like old people that thought it was sweet I was out there trying. And, you know, you just keep going, you get better. And then the rest is history, dude. After a while, it's like riding a bike now.
And you said junior year, so that's like you would have been like 17, 18?
Yeah. 17 turning 18, yeah.
And you've been in for, how long have you been doing sales now for?
This will be 14 years. Yeah.
Dude, that is awesome. That is awesome. How do you stay motivated to go out there every single year for 14 years like that?
I would say I found the joy in it. Like, I really like the job. I'm one of the weird ones that, like, I'm laughing with people. I'm getting goosebumps. Like, I'm having a great time out there. So for me, it's not like a chore, and I really take a lot of pride in serving people. And so it just turns into more of an experience that's more fun than sitting around and like whatever else you're going to do. Like, I'm out there making friends and making money, dude. You can't beat it. So yeah, I would say you got to fall in love with it first. It's just like, they say the love of the game in the NBA, right? It's like, you got to love the game, right? I truly love the game, and that helps because then it's not work, dude. It's just like my fun. So I'd say that's big. I'd also say, you know, just not taking it too seriously, realizing it is just kind of trick-or-treating for money at the end of the day, like Taylor McCarthy says, and just get out there and have fun with it, dude. And, you know, we have this blessed opportunity to make life-changing money doing something that's kind of a joke. And so it's like, you really can't beat it, dude. I feel too blessed at the end of the day.
100%. And I know you mentioned, like, you started in alarms, right? You were selling home security, and then
bam, dude, you're in and out. 30 minutes, sign them up.
Yeah, and then what was that? How did you transition then from alarms into solar? Was it just you saw friends doing it, you heard about it, or what was that? How did you hear about solar?
It's pretty much like, hey, you know, I mastered the alarm thing. I did, you know, I don't know if you know alarm numbers, but I did like 360 one year, and that's pretty good. And I was like, cool. So I kind of maxed out the alarm thing. And then it's just boring, dude. It's kind of the same sale every time. It's not very hard. It's high pressure. It's just kind of like, it's not good vibes. That's the best way I can describe it. I'm just kind of like coming in and taking control of everyone's lives for 30 minutes and then leaving. So it's weird. And then, so I like the idea of doing solar and just like having it be a little bit harder, having it be like this cool new environmental product. Like, there's some cool parts to that, at least like the way I thought at the time. Now I know too much kind of thing with solar, but at the time it's like, cool, green energy, save the world, make a bunch of money. So I got in, and then, yeah, dude, it was just, hey, you could sell an alarm and make $1,000.
I'm curious, did you want to get a Golden Door your very first year when you got into solar, or was that something that you were inspired to do after a couple of years?
I was trying to figure out how to sell a system and have them not cancel. Like, that was my thing at the time. So like coming in from alarms, it's a completely different beast, dude. Like in alarms, you sell it, it's installed, and you're done. And with solar, all of a sudden they have 60 to 90 days to change their mind. It's a completely different sale, right? So when I first got in, it was like, how do I get these people to not only say, cool, we're going solar, because I could still do that. You know, people were still signing up, but then I'd leave and they'd go, wait, we just took out a loan. Like, what are we doing? There's all this interest. The payment goes up later if I don't do all this stuff. Like, what did I do? And then they were just dropping off. So no, I didn't, I was hoping to just like get kind of good at it my first few years. But dude, I got kicked in the butt. It was definitely a reality check. That's for sure.
I think that's something that obviously people across the industry struggle with like having
Yeah.
cancels. Probably across the industry, it's crazy, but it's probably like 50, 60% cancellation rate, which like that's not all industries. And it is because, we're going from the emotional, like, hey, you're able to lock in your rate, look how much money you're going to save. But then like you're talking about, they think about it for a couple of days. And so I'm sure you've had a lot of lessons and strategies that you've put in place in order to have a better realization rate. To get a golden door this year, how many installs did you have to get?
So I'm on pace for 208. I've got 10 more scheduled and I'm at 198 right now. So it'll be 208.
That is phenomenal. And to hit the golden door, you had to have how many installs? It was 130.
I'm not too sure what it was, to be honest.
Yeah.
I knew it was 100 and then they upped it and I don't know what it is exactly.
Yep. But no doubt, 200 installs. That's top 1%, dude. How did you? What would you, if you could pick two or three things that you did in order to get that kind of volume? What would you say those two or three things were?
Um, First and foremost, my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, personally, that's everything to me. And I'd say that's where it starts. And I'd be nothing without my relationship with God. Second, you just have to treat it like it's a real job, man. Like I get up, most days I don't feel like going to work and I go to work. And that's as simple as it is. And you got to figure out like whether it's music or coffee or yerba mate or like whatever gets you going, you just need to get primed and then you just need to get after it. And then once you're there, it's like, cool, I'm having fun. I'm making money. Everything's fine. But people get caught up in like I'm just going to like overthink it and try to figure out this new area and shop my deal and do all this other stuff that's like killing time and they just don't go to work. And so you got to just go to work. It's that simple. Just get up, go to work 10 hours every day except for Sunday. And you're going to make a lot of money. It's not hard, but people overcomplicate it and they're like, hey, my dog's sick. I got to do all this other nonsense, dude. And it's like, no, just tunnel vision, just get after it. And then it's really not that hard. It's just every day.
Well, totally agree. So, biggest thing you think is just kind of like having that spiritual guidance and having that relationship with God, and then obviously like finding ways to prime yourself every day, and then just
Yeah.
going out there like a real job. And that's something that my dad told me when I got into sales too. It's like if you want this to be able to pay like a real job, you have to work it like a real
Yeah.
job. And how many people
Yeah.
do we see come out here and just work 2-3 hours a day because obviously you can make so much money, and they just get complacent, right? And so for you, were you
I'd
doing the
say,
close? Yeah, you go.
I would say third is be a student of the game, right? Like half my one-liners are my one-liners and they work. And so figure out like who's good at this and then realize why they're good at this and then copy a lot of the reasons that they're like makes them good at this. Like I use a lot of what Michael O'Donnell talks about on the political side of things. Like if I have a more educated client, I'm going to dig into, hey buddy, this is because of, all the carbon taxes and hey, this is because of this and that. And you're going to gain more respect with that client. He's going to trust you more. Like there's so much sauce on YouTube for solar that it's like, if you're not a student of the game, you're doing yourself a disservice. That's for sure.
Besides Michael O'Donnell, who have been some other influences for you in the solar industry?
I'd say top three would be Michael O'Donnell. Mike Brand has been huge, dude. That podcast he dropped with Taylor was crazy. I mean, just the way he breaks down PPAs, like he came into a market in California where like after the NEM change, everyone was fleeing, dude. And he's like, hey, instead of running, let's just frame the bill swap like it's the greatest thing ever. It's like, that's sales. That's 100% what sales is. Like, it doesn't matter what's going on. It's how you frame it. And I would say that changed my summer. Like, as soon as I fully digested that and realized, like, hey, they may hate everything about solar, but if I can frame it in a way where it's like, me too, but we're still going to do it, then it's like, it opens up this whole new client opportunity. So I would say, and then McCarthy, obviously. I mean, he's just a content machine, so there's a lot of gems you can find in there. So I would say those three guys for sure.
What would you say are some of the favorite one-liners that you use? Like, what objections are you getting typically, and what are their favorite one-liners that you use?
Let's see. Well, I was in small town, kind of Midwest, so my three most common objections are: I don't want holes in my roof, I don't want to take part in the liberal agenda, and what would be the third one?
We'll just go into those two. How do you overcome holes in my?
Yeah, those are the two. Those are the two. I mean, it's not that hard. The holes in the roof, it's just like, hey, I completely understand how you feel. I've been doing this for a very long time. I've personally never had an experience with leaking roofs. Has it happened ever? Of course. But what we do for you to ensure that this isn't something you're worried about is X, Y, and Z. Just make them feel good. Make them feel like, hey, I've been doing it forever. If I've never seen it, it's super rare. If you Google how likely are solar roof leaks, AI will tell you very rare, like extremely rare, I think is the word it uses. That's a good thing to point out too. So I just really try to find anything simple that can just change their emotional state into a direction that I want them to go in, right? Like, it's not like I need to say a million words, but if I can find something that just makes them feel good, it's like, cool, next. And that's kind of my thing.
Love it. And that's another big one too with like the liberal agenda. So how do you overcome that objection when a homeowner says, no way, I'm going solar. I don't want to be a part of the liberal agenda?
Yeah, hey, me neither. But the fact of the matter is they're closing down coal plants. I mean, what are you going to do? They're closing them down. This is their plan. You're either going to pay exponentially more for power forever, or you're going to go solar and you're not going to pay more forever. And I hate to tell you that's the way it is. So that's kind of why Mary's been helping us out. I don't know if you know Mary. She's pretty smart with it. I don't have a lot of time today, but I could pop back by and maybe we could figure something out later, and then boom, you're in it, dude.
Yep. And like these are the one-liners, right? Like the whole thing is, like Jordan Belfort talks about how we all get the same objections. There's not hundreds of them. There's probably like 15 max objections that we get, right?
Yeah.
And so it's like you got to role play those, you got to train those, and how many people are not going out there and having the success because they're not role playing. So I'm sure that's been a huge part of your success. Obviously, if you go out there and get 198, 208 installs, like dude, top 1%, bro. That's incredible. And did you have that goal at the beginning of this year? Like, were you intentional about it, like going out there and having the goal? What inspired you to go out there?
This year, yeah.
What inspired you to go out there?
Haters, dude. Haters. So, this last fall, I guess you could say, I went out with an org in Illinois and did pretty well. And then basically was just treated like I wasn't the reason why they recruited a bunch of people off my name and off my pay scales and off my pay sheets. And basically just treated me like I wasn't the blessing that I was to the operation. Like I was disposable, right? So big chip on my shoulder, got told basically that, they had more important people to talk to at the end of last winter. And so I showed them what's up, and they'll never be able to take that away from me. And, I outsold probably their entire organization. So I could care less what they think.
Dude, having that chip on the shoulder, it's huge. Would you say that you've got that same kind of like chip on your shoulder going into 2025, or what's motivating you going into 2025?
No, now it's more service based, dude. Like I can now say that I did that. Like it feels great, obviously, but I think the next step is to help others, right? Like I want to take people and up level them and give them the opportunity and show them, hey, this is exactly the blueprint. If you want to plug in and you want to do X, Y, and Z, I can take you there. And I think that's where the next layer of fulfillment comes from, because dude, it's like, once you get that golden door, you get that whatever you're chasing, you realize that it's pretty temporary. Like as soon as you achieve it, it's gone, right? So I don't really need to go do that again. I really didn't even need to do it, but now I'd like to help other people do it if they want to. I think that'd be the next cool step. Just have some golden door, proteges under me instead of me just doing it again.
Yeah, it's like Jim Rohn says, if you help enough people get what they want, you'll always have what you want. So that's like the next step.
100%.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. Are you doing the closer setter model, or this year as you went out there and did 200 installs, were you self-genning everything?
I wish. That'd be cool. That would be exhausting. I don't know if I could have done that. Yeah. No, I was super blessed, dude. I actually worked pretty much exclusively with one setter who, shout out Taylor Thompson. I don't know if you know Taylor Thompson, but she's a beast, dude. She's easily the best setter I've ever worked with in solar. It's not even close. And she works harder than me. And so it's pretty easy when you've got this, 5'6" girl telling you that you're weak and you should go to work. It's like, okay, like, I guess I'm going to get back to it then. So definitely held me accountable. And dude, she's just a killer. Her mindset's insane. Like, she's just the hardest working person I've ever worked with, probably. So super fortunate. And so people got the Taylor squared combo all summer, dude. It was just Taylor at the door. Do you want to meet the other Taylor? The other Taylor comes by, and people just loved it, dude. Like, it was like after a while, yeah, it's like real estate kind of energy where now we like have a brand. It's like, oh, the Taylors, like, oh, did you talk to the Taylors? So it was cool. Like, definitely a little glimpse into, like, social proof is huge in solar. And a lot of people don't realize that. Like, if you can be the guy in an area, then you'll not only get your deals, but you'll get everyone else's deals when they don't buy from the guy that just came by from out of nowhere, right? Like, fly by night guy comes through, people get interested, they time buy him because they don't trust him, and then they call Susan and go, hey Susan, who'd you get your solar from? And she's like, oh, I got it from the Taylors, they're the best, and now I'm closing your deal. So it's like, social proof is huge.
Yep, people believe what they can see, and like having like pictures and testimonials and everything like that. So
100%. I don't go super into that because I try to make it a little bit less, I try to kind of downplay the amount of money I'm making. Personally, I think that's a good strategy. I don't want to be like the super social networky realtor gift guy because I think that's a red flag. Like, okay, this guy's getting paid a good amount of money doing this gig. I'd rather be more like the just kind of like blue collar contractor vibe where it's like, hey, I do a lot of solar because it's my job, but I'm not this like sales guy, if that makes sense. Like, I'm just the solar guy, but I'm not in sales. Like, that's how I try to act for the most part.
are there any other bits of advice you have for everybody watching on how they can kind of take that approach to, like, any like characteristics that they could emulate? Like, is it how you're dressed?
Yeah.
Like, are you dressed with like the
No,
company swag, or are you wearing something different where you look like a GC?
no. So I just wear basically blank polos. So just, I mean, your standard golf polo, with a collar and all that, and then a hat. Usually, like, this year I worked with Legacy Power, so I rocked a Legacy Power hat and that, shorts, Nikes. Like, I don't look any different. I'm not wearing a utility vest. I'm not doing all that kind of craziness. So just kind of low key, no watches, no jewelry. That's huge for me. Like, none of that stuff. Like, I try to appear as humble and normal as possible. Like, blue jeans are fire. If you want to put some boots on, that'd probably be fire in the country. And just kind of come at it with more like, hey, this is what I'm good at. I know a lot about it. I'm your guy. I'm really busy, but I'm like not with the frills and I'm not going to BS you and I don't have a lot of time. And then people are like, cool, you're my guy. Boom, let's do a deal. So it's just kind of no BS. And then be genuine. Ultimately, a lot of people struggle with this. Like, be real, like straight up, like don't be anybody but yourself. And if you can make a genuine connection and you can stare at them and make good eye contact and not be weird and have good body language and not put them off in any kind of way, then it's just a smooth process. Not even sales, dude. We're like filling out orders and just kicking it. It's no big deal. So that would be my advice. Like, the Jeremy Miner talks about it. He's also somebody I learned a lot from. Like, the goal in a sales conversation should be not triggering buyer's resistance more than anything else, right? So, like, if you can skate through the sale like a snowboarder that's just freaking cranking down a hill, dude, flawless, like, that's where you want to be. And I think people try to like force situations or they're like, here comes my close. And it's like, dog, it was cool until you just talked for 5 minutes straight and kind of ruined the energy, and it's like, a lot of times you can just transition. And if it's a good vibe, then they're just going to start filling out paperwork and you don't even have to use a line. It's like, hey, we got to credit check you. What's your social? Boom, boom, boom. And now I'm doing it, so I think people overthink it. And I think if you can just make it number one, you have to sell yourself, right? Because if it's not a duh to you, they're not going to do it. So you have to be sold on it, and then you transfer that energy, and then it should just be signing up and no big deal.
Yeah, Jeremy Miner's a huge resource. I love what he talks about. Like, it's not ABC, always be closing. It's ABD, always be disarming. And it's like you knock somebody's door, their resistance is like up here. And so it's like, what can you do to like lower their resistance? And so you talked about it already. It's like not wearing jewelry, just being a general contractor, just being cool. Sales is a transfer of energy. You want to inject and infect them with your enthusiasm so they don't eject and reject you. But I like how you said it's like there's nothing special about the presentation, right? It's like you're just going in there, you're selling yourself, right? You're doing the discovery, and then you're just showing them the numbers, right? You're talking about the warranties, and then maybe you do a pullback. You talk about how not everybody qualifies. And then you sign them up, right? And then there's probably like a little post like cool down, right, where you talk about anything besides solar, and then get them in a group text, and like that's pretty much it. Is there anything else in there?
Not rocket science.
Yeah, it does not have to be complicated, right? But do you think that there's anything that you've done or that you could share with everybody watching where they could kind of like make their process a little bit less complicated?
Yeah, I would say shout out Mike Brand. If you haven't listened to that podcast, you should. But the way he breaks it down to the most simple way, which I think is huge, dude, because you do realize the more you actually pay attention when you're in homes, people do not understand how they buy electricity, how their bill reads. They don't understand anything. Like, yeah, you run into that grandpa with glasses who's like, I remember I have, printouts from 2008 when it was 9 cents. And he's like the engineering grandpa. You'll always meet that guy, but like your average person has no idea why their bill's $300. And they're just looking at it going, wow, that's high. Why? And so you got to come in and you got to say, hey, this is a kilowatt hour. Do you understand? This is how you buy power. This is what you used to pay. This is what you're currently paying. This is what it's going to go up to. Hey, look at this. Now solar's not an expensive product. You can do it with no net investment. Isn't that cool? Would you rather buy gas for $4 or $2.50? Like, it's not a big deal. And when you can kind of just make that the decision, it's like, where do you want to get your gas? Then it's not a big decision. But what people do is they're like, hey, we're going to go solar. And it's like, whoa, maybe that's scary. Let's just focus on the benefit, right? And then they'll justify the holes in the roof and everything else later because they're like, yeah, like a little bit of scary drilling on my roof is worth saving $100,000 over 15 years. Like that makes duh. You know what I mean? And so I think just making it super simple and then having really good responses when they have objections, right? Like, if someone's like, I don't care how crazy it is. If they're like, hey, what happens if the panels leak radioactive material through my, you hear wild stuff doing this job. And it's like, hey, I completely understand. The nice part is that's never happened ever. High five. And, and then you're on to the next thing. And it's like, hey, you have to just be able to like handle it and don't do the whole skate around it thing. Like so many people try to skate around everything. And it's like, dude, you're just going to trigger their buyer's resistance. Like they know you're not being truthful. So it's like, even if it's not the best answer, like that wasn't, hey, it's never happened ever, high five, that would work because it's like straight up like, hey, okay, cool. Now we're on to the next thing. And so that would be my main thing. Yeah.
Love it. Yeah. I think, again, just to be able to go out there and to do 200 installs in the solar industry and to achieve obviously like that financial goal is something that everybody strives for in the industry. Is there a moment that you can look at from your past that kind of like maybe prepared you for this year to be able to go out there and produce at that level?
For sure. Yeah. So it's big full circle, dude. So I spent a lot of time in alarms selling in small town Illinois. So basically I already knew the people. Like I didn't have to learn the people. And so I showed up mirroring them perfectly from day one. And I think a lot of other people were adjusting from being in, say, San Diego to being in Illinois, where the client's completely different. In San Diego, they're smarter than you. In Illinois, they're never smarter than you, and you have to lower it. You know what I mean? And it's a whole different kind of approach. And so, yeah, I think a lot of people would go in there and start talking about microinverters and batteries and I don't even know the terms for some of this stuff. Load controllers. Still don't know what that means, brother. I couldn't tell you. And they're in there talking about it. And I'm like, hey, you need 40 panels. It's going to be good. You're going to save money. And if it breaks, we got you. And they're like, cool, let's sign up. And so just dumb it down. And then if they're an engineer, bring out your little autistic tool bag where you're talking about all the stuff, right? But like, if they're not that guy, you don't need it. You never need it. So read the room, that would be another thing. Figure out what kind of buyer it is. Is it an older person that's only going to do it if you make them feel like they're your favorite person in the world and you spend 2 hours with them? Like gauge that. Is that worth your time? Is this going to cancel? Probably. Like, is this even worth it? Try to figure out like how serious buyers are. I always snatch it away if I don't think they're taking me seriously, dude. It's like, hey, I'm here, we're doing it. And they're like, ooh, it's like, all right, I'm leaving. And then it's, hold on. Actually, not quite yet. We'll do it. And it's, just call them out. Like, don't let these people control you. And you got to have an abundance mentality inside the home too, right? Like, hey, if you don't do it, Jerry, I get it, dude. Carl did it. Brenda's going to do it. She already told me she's going to do it. But if you want to be that guy, Jerry, we can do this, and people they resonate with that. It's like, oh, I'm always like that. I'm sorry. Let's get it done. Like, thanks. So just be real. Yeah.
Nuggets, bro. Yeah, keeping it super simple. People buy from people that they know, like, and trust. And so it's like you got to know the people that you're talking to. And, I look at it all the time with like the selfies that closers will take with the homeowners. And it's like a lot of times like these people, they look like they're your mom or dad or like your grandma or grandpa. And it's like, so to be able to like speak their language, dude, that's one of those like soft skills where we talk about, it's like, that's something that we're going to use for the rest of our entire life. But again, like for everybody watching, like if you're not talking the language of the homeowners and if you're, not resonating with them and, people buy people, right? Like you're talking about. And so that's a huge nugget, bro. I appreciate that.
Yeah. And find out where you fit in. Like for me, I like blue collar country redneck types. Like those are my people. And when we're sitting down, we're like calling each other names at the closing table and it's fun and we're having a good time and like it's not serious. And those are my people. And so I do the best there. And it's like, but I can sell, in more like ethnic communities where there's like some Pakistani people and I know how to talk to those people. It's all about starting super high and trying to, hopefully you come down and you figure it out somewhere, and it's like, there's all different kinds of communities, but like if you're in a market and you don't feel like you're getting along with the people, there's other markets, right? Like you don't have to just stay in New York and get called names all day and it's cold. You could always go to the Midwest or the West Coast and maybe you like those people better, or Florida. Like I think people just think too small sometimes. Yeah.
What would you say has been the craziest day that you've had in the door-to-door industry, or like maybe like the craziest door you've knocked, homeowner you've helped?
I mean, I've seen a lot of weird stuff, obviously. 13 years, you see it all. Plenty of like hoarders where I'm like squeezing through the house trying to get to the couch in the living room, like in the early alarm days because I was desperate. And it's like, oh, this is going to close and it's going to smell, but it's going to close. Lots of those. I have more stories from friends than I do personally. Like it seems like the really weird stuff happens to everybody but me. But yeah, I mean, nothing crazy that I can think of off the top of my head, really. It's kind of like I delete all the memories too, because it's the same thing again and again and again for the most part. So I don't want just all these like, the same memory a million times stored up in my brain. It just seems like it's not good intel. I don't know. Hard to explain.
No, dude. Yeah, you definitely see a lot of crazy stuff. I had this one homeowner that I saw the house and I'm like, this is the one, and like is like hadn't been mowed in a while. I'm like, this guy's just going to be excited to talk to somebody, And so I knocked the door, and this guy comes to the door with like a raccoon, and I'm like, that's crazy. I'm like, we go around, we're looking at his meter, and I'm like trying to set the appointment, and he's like, what do you think? He called it Carla. He's like, what do you think, Carla? Should we go for it? And I'm like, bro, are you taking financial advice from a raccoon right now?
He is. He's tapped in, dude.
But no, dude, like
crazy.
just a couple more questions. And I appreciate you taking the time, Taylor. What would you say is like that 1% improvement that you're looking to make in 2025? Like that 1% improvement. I know you mentioned a little bit about how you want to have that like service mindset, and like extend an opportunity, and like helping people. But
Yeah.
what would you say for yourself is like that 1% improvement that you want to make this year?
I haven't really dove into the management saga so far at this point, you know what I mean? So I can only imagine there's going to be a lot of improvement to do once I start that mission, and it's, I guess, preparing for that in the best way that I can ultimately. But it's going to be just like sales, dude. I'm going to think I know how to manage, and then I'm not going to know how to manage, and I'm going to have to learn along the way. And so I guess just patience, like praying for the patience to deal with that. I think that's going to be the main thing because, you know, I'm, I'm pretty disciplined and I see things a certain way. And when people are like, no, let me teach you how to think about sales, it just kind of makes me annoyed, so I'm going to have to work on that, I'm sure. And just being more open because I think a lot of times you'll learn stuff from people that you may not think you would have, so just keeping an open mind and trying not to be like, oh, I know how to sell solar. You think you know how to sell solar, so I think that'll be the main thing.
Yeah, again, like this opportunity has changed, so many people's lives. What would you say is like the biggest way that solar, door to door sales, how has it changed your life?
Yeah, man. I mean, I've always been, super ADD, can't sit still like most of us. So it's a blessing to have a career opportunity for us who are like this. It's like because of that, school's hard. And then the traditional career path is going to be probably less successful because that seems to be an important piece of the traditional career path. Right. So, yeah, at the end of the day, I'm just glad that I can make, 5, 10x what a doctor makes when that's kind of like the high end of doing that whole route. So, dude, it's all just a giant blessing and it feels like I'm playing a video game in real life. And so until that goes away, I don't really know how else to look at it. Like, some people play Call of Duty. I play door to door and it's way more profitable than Call of Duty. I promise you that. And if you can find a way to make that your Call of Duty, then that's when it gets easy, dude. That's for sure.
Yeah, that reminds me of something that Alex Hormozy talks about, where people in a video game are willing to do the mundane, monotonous things to rack up their points.
Yeah, their XP and level up. Yeah, for 8 hours. It's like, but you can't knock doors for 8 hours? Come on,
Right.
bro. That's way more fun. You're
Yep.
outside. It's beautiful. Catch a sunset, meet some people, see some cool houses, meet some dogs. Like, what's wrong with you? It's not
Yeah.
bad.
No, literally, dude, like you're talking about, like we're totally blessed. I love and appreciate how you're talking about, like, it starts with God. And so really to wrap this up, man, again, I appreciate you taking the time, but for everybody watching this right now, if their goal is to go out 2025 and to hit that status and that, that level that you've, reached in 2024 of hitting the golden door, how would you map that out for them? Like, what should they be doing right now? What are the things they need to learn? What are the things they need to start doing? What are the things they need to stop doing in order to go out there in 2025 and hit a golden door?
Yeah, I would say get with the right people. Kind of like I hinted at, like I wouldn't have been able to accomplish what I did personally without the help of the other Taylor. So find, maybe if you're a setter closer and you're a really good setter, go find you the best closer you can find and say, hey, I heard about these people that went and did this thing. Maybe we could do something similar because it does cut out a lot of the nonsense. It's like you both have one pipeline that you're worried about. You're not splitting a pipeline with 5 different closers and 10 different setters. And it's like, whose deal is that? Is that my deal or your deal? Or did that one cancel? It's like we just have this giant pipeline that we both know exactly what's going on. So that was huge for me. I don't know if it's something that's easily copied. I'm sure you probably could. So maybe something like that. The other thing was starting early. Like I beat all the competition out to area. I was there in February. A lot of people don't do that. They get out in May and by then I already had my stronghold, dude. I already had my community. I had a bunch of deals. And then when other reps would show up in June, it was like, yo, this place is cooked. Who are the Taylors? They sold everybody. And it's like, oh, see ya. So that's a big thing. Starting early, early bird gets the worm, dude. So doing that. And then I'd say, like, don't be weird about the hours, man. People are so weird about the hours. It's like, oh, dude, everyone's home from 4 to 8, so I'm just going to do nothing until 4. It's like, dude, you're already ruined. You've been sitting around all day. Like, you're not in a peak state whatsoever. You're going to go get stuck in traffic for an hour and a half out of those hours. Like, it's all ridiculous, dude. And then on the flip side of that, it's like if you start at 8 a.m. and you finish at 8 p.m., it's like pretty much impossible you won't find success. Like it's very rare to go through a 10-hour shift and not set a bunch of good appointments or close a bunch of deals. Like it's really hard to mess that up. So I would say just be disciplined, like treat it like a real job, get up early, get in the gym, and then get after it, dude. And that's it. And then be realistic, dude. If you have to sell, what is it, 130? Do the math. You got to do 15-ish a month, kind of, something like that. So if you want to do it slow, but that sounds painful to me. I'd rather not work for a couple months. I've always been like that. Summer sales kind of like program me to be that way. So I'd rather go 10,000% for 4 months and then not have to work as hard. So that's kind of my thing. So if I'm going to do it that way, that means I have to sell 40, 50, 60 deals in a month. And if you're going to do that, then you break it down. It's like, okay, I'm going to do 60. You know, there's three to 4 weeks right there. So my math's not great. You're doing 15 a week, something like that. That's what you got to do. There's 6 days in a week. So you got to do a little over 2 a day. Like just break it down, dude. That's the main thing. I think a lot of people, they look at it like, oh, I'm going to do 300. It's like, that's a scary number, brother. You don't want to think about that. Trust me. So what you want to do is you want to go, okay, I could do 40 in a month. That sounds like something I could do. There's 30 days. I should be able to sell 40. Like, what does that look like? And then for me, I learned this from the great, I don't know, have you ever heard of Jake Ellsworth from Alarms? So he put me onto this, dude. If you can break up your days into blocks, that's how you maximize your days. So if you're going to hit your first door at 8 a.m., your first block is from 8 a.m. to, I would say, 11 a.m. You should have a deal in that time. No excuses. You should have a deal. And alarm days, for sure. Solar, maybe a little different. You should have a set, whatever it is. And then your next block is 11 to 1. Same thing. That's your time. You're grinding. Now you're at your 1 block. Next thing you know, you take a day, you make it 4 days. And that's the beauty of it. So then it's like, hey, 300 is pretty stressful, and that's a lot of deals. But I could sell a deal in 3 hours. I could do that. And then if you just do that for 7 months, then you sell 300, and that's it. And so that's been huge for me. I mean, that guy taught me so much. I could go on and on about that guy. He's not big on the podcast, so there's not a lot of stuff to find on him, but I had the privilege of learning directly from him, and that's huge. If you can break up your days, and then it's just little missions. You just a million little missions, and then you get to the end goal.
Love the way you said that. Yeah, just a bunch of little mini missions. You break it down, and I think like you hit it on the head, dude. Couldn't agree anymore with everything that you just said. And shout out to Ellsworth, and it's kind of cool to think like you'll be him now in the future. People will be putting you on game over these next couple of years, saying like, dude, freaking Taylor Buffum, he helped me out hit my goals, and so. Dude, that's awesome, man. I appreciate you for hopping on, taking the time. I'm sure we could probably do another 2 or 3 podcasts breaking down, like, your approach and, like the exact setting script and the exact closing script. But, like, my biggest takeaways from this is, like, you got to be intentional about what you're doing every single day to go out there and, like break it down every single block in the day. And, God first, right? And then just, like, have a process for it. Don't overcomplicate it. Make it simple. Have fun, right? And so, dude, I appreciate you for coming on. If I could just ask you.
And glory to God, too. Glory to God. That's important. Like, every time you get a deal, dude, it's not always you. You may think it's you, but sometimes that homeowner was real nice and they had 0 objections and you were really tired. And you may think that's all you, brother, but that's God. And if you don't thank him in that moment, he'll remember. And I think that if you go above and beyond with gratitude for not just God, but for the people that you love in life, then it just comes full circle, dude. It's just good energy. Everybody appreciates it.
It's good vibes, bro. I love it. Last question for you, Dad.
Yes, sir.
If what's your message for everybody as we wrap up this podcast? If you had like a billboard on the side of the highway and it had like 1 sentence on it, what would that billboard say for everybody? What would be your message for everybody?
Yeah, I love this. I got this from a mentor early on, and it's pretty common, but I think if you want something bad enough, you'll find a way. And if you don't, you'll find an excuse. I think that's as simple as life is. And if you can just remind yourself of that and realize, hey, like if I'm not putting 100% into this solar thing, maybe I'm supposed to do something else and put 100% into that, but don't shortchange yourself. Like don't get plugged into this opportunity where you could change not only your trajectory, but your kids' trajectories if you wanted to. And then half-ass it, dude. It's disrespectful to everything that's happened in your life up until this point to put you in the situation you're in my opinion. And there's a lot of people that would have begged for an opportunity like this, like 50 years ago, 60 years ago. I mean, things have changed so quickly, man. Like the opportunity, in that kind of America was much smaller. You couldn't just make fake money door to door. Like it's real money, but it feels fake, compared to what people had to do, go work a factory job for nothing their entire life. Like that was normal. Like, how could you not be grateful every day? I personally don't get it. So fix that. If you're ungrateful, fix that. That's the main thing.
Dude, dropping bombs, bro. Having an attitude of gratitude every single day, and if you want to make it happen, you'll find a way. And if you don't actually care, if you're just like curious, not serious about having those results and that success, like you'll find an excuse, right? So, dude, well said.
And let your numbers talk. Let your numbers talk. Don't, everyone likes to be I'm going to have 2025's my year. Bro, show me at the end of 2025. I don't care what you're saying right now. Just go do it. And then you can say, hey, look. And then it's different. Now we can have a conversation. But don't be the guy that's always at the bar at 2 a.m. like, bro, I'm going to have the craziest year ever, bro. Just watch me. They always don't. You're guaranteed not to, pretty much, if you do that. I think just spiritually, you're chalked at that point. So just keep your nose down and keep your head low, and then just let the results talk, dude. And then it's over.
Yeah, well said, bro. I think I saw this thing, and it's like you don't have to show everybody and tell everybody all the hard work that you're doing. It's like just go out and do it, right?
Yeah, proof is in the pudding, dude.
Yep. So, guys, that's our challenge for everybody watching this Snapper Chat podcast with Mr. Taylor Buffum. Go out and do it. Get the results. You'll have the success story at the end of 2025, and reverse engineer it, break it down. What you got to do every single month. Last question to you, Taylor. What was your best month this year? I know you threw out like 60 in a month. What was your best month?
I think it was like 63 in September, I want to say. But that was like right at the end. We're running around like, you got to sign up, nem deadline. So I've heard other people like in California had some pretty crazy months too. So, I mean, there was a little bit of that behind it, but we also worked even the Sabbath that month. I worked 7-day weeks, 10 hours a day. So I lost my mind. I wasn't sleeping much, but I was selling a lot of solar. So that was cool.
Yeah. Then Michael O'Donnell would be proud. Michael O'Donnell would be proud.
Yeah. No, hey, I listened to that podcast. He said, go find a deadline. I wish I could do his voice. His voice is the best. He sounds like Trump in a lot of ways. But, yeah, he does. But he was like, go find a deadline, 2-point-something million watts of solar. I was like, that's it. And then sure enough, that's it. So, hey, the rest is history, dude. Just listen to the greats, man, and just plug in and work hard, dude. Like, it's like until you work as hard as I did this year, you really don't know what you're capable of. You really don't.
Love it. Well, guys, we'll wrap it up there. Taylor, again, thank you so much for coming on our Snapper Chat podcast. We appreciate you. And, guys, for everybody watching this, let's go out. Let's make 2025 the best year of our entire life. We're looking forward to seeing what Taylor accomplishes next year. And until then, we'll see you guys soon. Peace.